morning, bird brains, out on the Ultra today, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 things not to do on a group ride. Let's get into it. So group rides are one of those things that I feel like as a motorcycle enthusiast, you either enjoy or you don't. And many of the people that don't enjoy them because people do one of these 5 things that I'm about to talk about. So I want to point out that these are in no particular order, but I will say that number 1 is my pet peeve, and that is showing off. If you've been to a number of group rides, you know that guy that just has to show off, whether that be revving his motor to the absolute rev limiter at every stoplight, doing burnouts at stoplights, doing wheelies, you name it. I have a word of advice for if you're that kind of person. Here's a good word of advice.
Stop it. Get some help.
Thank you, Michael. I couldn't have said it better myself. Just stop it. If you want to show off, that's fine. Strap a camera to your head and go do it by yourself. But don't be endangering other people around you when you're doing it. That's why I like how I feel about street racing. You want to do it? Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm guilty of it. But don't do it in 5 o'clock traffic. Don't do it through a neighborhood. Be responsible and go out on a county road at 2 a.m. and do it there. Same thing goes for showing off. You want to do it, go into an industrial park somewhere, go into a big empty parking lot, go somewhere away from people. Don't do it on a group ride. The group ride is probably the last place to be doing it. Number 2 is one that I've been guilty of by accident a handful of times, and that is to forget to get gas. Now, if you are in a smaller group of just you and a couple buddies, it's not a big deal to make a stop at a gas station and, you know, take an extra 5-10 minutes. But if you're in a group of 10, 20, 100 guys and you have to get gas, you're either A, going to get left behind, or B, be that one guy that holds up the entire group. And once again, that might not be a big issue depending on what the group ride is for, but generally speaking, a group ride is going to want it to start and end in a timely manner, and you might even have to be getting to a certain location at a certain time. So it's best practice to fill up your tank right before you get to the meetup spot. Number 3 is also very high on my list, and that is riding outside of your limits. It's no mystery that newer riders are going to be a little bit more nervous to go on group rides and might have a more difficult time keeping up with the group, yada, yada, yada. Or maybe you're not a new rider. Maybe you're just not a very experienced rider. Maybe you just, ride to work back and forth. You've been doing that for 15 years. Or maybe you just do interstates. Maybe you just do, bum burners every couple months. And you've got tens of thousands of miles under your belt, but you haven't done any type of technical riding or really any group riding. Either way, riding inside of your limits should be a very big focus on that ride. I would say most accidents that happen within group rides happen because of people riding outside their limits, and there's really absolutely no reason for it. I make it a very known point when I have group rides that I will not make a turn without myself or someone else making sure that we have the entire group together. That is why I make it a point to have basically anyone that I have on comms or anybody that I ride with regularly to kind of split up amongst the group and let them know, hey, if you're the number 2 guy, you are responsible from everybody between you and the next group leader behind you. That is also why I've started recently posting up the ride itineraries, including Google Maps links. That way, every single route that we have from point to point, someone can get on my website and get the directions. At that point, there's literally zero excuse to ride outside your limits other than you just don't want to be the guy in the back. And that's a stupid idea. I would much rather you show up to the meetup spot 15 minutes later than everyone else than for you to go down just because you're trying to keep up with the group. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, if the leader would just ride inside the limits of everybody, that wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, you're right. That would be the problem. But some leaders don't like to do that, including myself. I ride with adults, and adults should understand the fact that basically everything I just said. There's no reason to ride outside your limits because we have people in the group that are going to be taking care of you and be able to make sure that you don't get lost and get to the next stop, wherever that may be, in one piece. Moving on to number 4 on the list, and that is ride outside of formation. Now, I will say that this one doesn't bother me that much. It's just a minor annoyance. The only time it becomes an issue is when you're riding outside of formation, which is causing the group to be less safe than if you were in formation. For example, if you're on a really twisty road and people are still, bunched up really close, riding staggered after I've given the signal for single file multiple times. It's pretty easy to ride in formation, guys. It's really not that hard. The signals for formation and single file can vary. I like to do this one just because this one is a little bit harder to see for the people in back, so doing something kind of split out like that is easier to see, and I'll usually wave it back and forth like that. And then single file is either one, what I like to do is I like to do a full hand and do kind of like a shark motion, baby shark, get in formation. And like I said, single file is more for your back roads and areas that some corners might sneak up on you and you might need a little bit extra more braking time for the person in front of you. If you go single file, spread out. You don't want that one Mississippi in between you and the person in front of you, and give yourself a little more space. If someone behind you is riding on your ass, just go ahead and give them a little whoop whoop. Let them, just wave them by, let them know like, hey, go right ahead. Sometimes people will get off to the right side of the lane and let them go. That way they don't have to go into oncoming traffic to get ahead. There's a lot of ways to manage the formation safely, but you have to do it. And then last, but certainly not least, is do not take your focus off of either the rider in front of you or the leader. This one is one that I'm guilty of. Ring addict, Donnie, you don't know. And it cost me. Thankfully, it didn't provide any injury, or cause any injury, I should say. And thankfully, my insurance covered it all, but it cost about $7,000 worth of damage. Now, I know a lot of people have trouble believing that figure, but you have to remember that when you're in an accident and you damage a vehicle, you're also paying for labor, which, if you're working on a Harley, is going to be stupid expensive. The reason that this one is so important is, you've kind of already seen an example of what happens when you don't, but like I said, we got off pretty easy. Say, for example, if a leader sees something up ahead on the road that's very dangerous, such as, the road is washed out or something of that nature, and he tries to stop the group pretty quickly. If you're not paying attention, you might not stop in time. Or if you go around him and disobey him altogether, you're going off into a sinkhole. Theoretically, if you're, 2 or 3 riders back behind the leader, all you should be focused on is the guy in front of you, the guy to the, if you're in staggered, the guy in front of you, the guy to the right of you, and the person behind you. Those are really the only 3 people that you should be worried about. Really focusing on the 2 people in front of you, because theoretically, if the leader does any sort of hand signals, they should relay it down the line, and you should relay it as well. So there you have it, guys. The top 5 things to not do in a group ride. Now, of course, there is a lot longer list, but I feel like those are the 5 most important ones. I feel like those are the 5 that are going to get you into trouble or get you kicked out of the group as soon as possible. If you know of any that I missed, go ahead and put it down in the comment section below, and I will make a follow-up video making up anything that you guys think should make, let's say, the top 10. What do you think are going to be the next 5? Either way, guys, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and punch that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.